In today's video, we are talking about Dan Schneider. He is a former TV producer from Nickelodeon who was suddenly let go in 2018 after years of being accused of doing disturbing things to child stars and other castmates. This man has affected so many people, but in today's video, we are talking about Jeanette Mccurdy and Alexa Nicholas because they have a story to tell. So let's get into it. If you guys don't know who Dan Schneider is, no worries. Definitely go check out my first video I made on him, including Ariana Grande, Amanda Bynes, Jamie Lynn, and other people who he has affected during his time as a TV producer for Nickelodeon. Like I said, in today's video, I'll be focusing on Jeanette Mccurdy and Alexa Nicholas. But to give you some background on Dan, he is a former actor in the 80s who became a writer for Nickelodeon and later on went to produce big shows like Zoe 101, iCarly, The Amanda Show, and others. He was let go by Nickelodeon in 2018, and a ton of people think it's because of all the rumors and allegations that have been made about Dan over the course of his time working at Nick, which are a ton. There are so many things that we could talk about. Like in my first video, there were a ton of topics, and today we've got a bunch to talk about, but there's even more to talk about when it comes to Dan. So this video is just like one in a series, and as I continue to research on Dan, I'm going to update and make videos about him. Even though the content isn't quite new and we've been talking about him for some time, I think it's important to hold him accountable. He was literally let go from Nickelodeon with $7 million when he should have been investigated. So today I'm just collecting all of the evidence online and experiences that people have shared, and I'm presenting them to you guys like I did in my last video and like I will in future videos. So let's talk about some of the disgusting things that Dan Schneider has done to these children and women. But just a fun fact real quick, you guys saw that movie from the 80s. Actually, Dan played a role in this movie where he was creeping on a young preteen girl, which honestly seems very ironic knowing that he has been a creeper for some time. And everything in this video is allegedly and rumored, so like I obviously don't know the truth, but like some people have even reached out to me and shared their own experiences, so I know there's something there, so let's talk about it. We all know that Dan Schneider is a creep, but this channel in particular has done a lot of research about him and what he has done. The channel is called Revenge of the Sis, and they have a whole playlist about Dan Schneider. They actually have 12 videos they made back in 2017. And a lot of them are unlisted. There's even one that is privated, so part of me thinks that they were possibly sued or something. I did reach out to the channel, but I have not heard back from them. But in these videos, they have done some interviews, and I want to play this one for you guys, because this guy talks about Dan Schneider and the type of man that he is.
I worked in the entertainment industry for almost 10 years, and Schneider came up quite a few times with some of the people that I worked with, and this guy is just an absolute scumbag. He goes far beyond feet. He would have pool parties and invite all the kids over, and be like, "Oh, we'll just take care of the kids. No adults need to come over." So he was having pool parties with these kids that were on the shows without any kind of adult supervision going on.
Wow, that's weird, dude. We're cooking with gas. This is getting weird with this guy.
If you guys don't remember, in my last video, I talked about the pool parties, which were kind of like little camps that Dan Schneider and this man named Brian Peck would put together and have stars come out to, and they would be discovered by the men out by the pool wearing little to none clothing, being underage, and it's obviously very weird and gross, and this man is talking about it, so let's go ahead.
A friend, one of my friends that used to work on a couple of shows they did, I mean, this goes back to the mid-early 90s. This is back from like the all I believe the shows like All That and Keenan and Kel and all that. It was shows from way back then.
Yeah, that was we watched. Yeah, when we were children.
Yeah, and he would spend extremely large amounts of time along with the kids in their dressing rooms, and without any adult supervision in there either. He would get mad if you went and if the talent wrangler, the person who would usually handle all the talent, make sure they were on set when they needed to be. If they were going and whichever actor or actress needed to be on set, if they went to go get him and he wasn't able to talk to them, he would just berate the poor PA that was just trying to do their job for interrupting them. He was just he's just a sick dude, and people have known about this in the industry for a long time. This isn't anything that's new to people within there, and it's not anything new to Nickelodeon either. I don't know why Nickelodeon continues to put up with this guy.
You know what? It isn't new to Nickelodeon. That's a great point, and actually a point I want to make in this video, that not only is Dan Schneider problematic, but Nickelodeon is, because they have allowed a toxic environment to reign, and it has caused chaos for so many young children. We will talk about it when we talk about Alexa Nicholas, and even a little bit when we talk about Jeanette Mccurdy, because it's true, this environment is extremely toxic, and one of the reasons why is because Dan Schneider over here intimidating the talent managers, so these people allow these kids to be alone with him for hours on end when they're supposed to be working. Like, this is really disgusting and disturbing things, and I'm thankful that that channel did that interview, because it's the only way we're going to learn about Dan Schneider. I'm sure a ton of stars, even from the 90s, 80s, whatever, have signed NDAs and they can't say one thing about him. Obviously, that's just my assumption. I have no idea, but I know NDAs are really popular when it comes to studios or work businesses or even management and producers. I would not be surprised. There are handfuls of people who have been affected by Dan Schneider, and one of those is child actress Jeanette Mccurdy. Jeanette is currently 28 years old, but she has been very vocal about all the things that she has gone through as a child star. Along with several interviews that we will talk about, she has been posting on her TikTok page about some of the things that she has gone through as a child, like this TikTok.
I guess we'll never know. This is what I'm talking.
She also posted this TikTok where she is referring to her parents as controlling, and when it goes to the child, she claims that she knows that she deserves better, and it seems really reflective of what she went through during her time as a child star. We will see that play out in her podcast interview. But as a child star, Jeanette definitely had an interesting relationship with Dan Schneider. It's clear that she did not like him, but he really liked her, especially her feet. Like, remember when he posted about her toe and asked his fans to guess whose foot it was? That's so weird. And he's even taken his obsession to Facebook, posting again about Jeanette Mccurdy's toes. She was literally 15 at this time, and he wrote, "Who wants to see Jeanette Mccurdy's toes? I got plenty of pics to go round if you tune in to the new iCarly episode this Friday on Nick." Like, what? Who allowed this to happen? Like, how does this man get away with posting about this child star and her toes on the internet over and over again? Well, he gets away with it because Nickelodeon supports this behavior. There's a reason why their logo was a foot at some point, because there is something all these producers and people have in common, and it is some obsession with feet. And there are some people who actually commented on my last video. They're like, "You're trying to make like people who like feet like sound bad," and I'm not trying to do that. This man should have never been trying to do this type of gross thing with children. Like, there are so many clips on the internet of Jeanette Mccurdy in scenes that are very uncomfortable.
Observe! Uh-oh. Earthquake!
She was definitely not treated right at Nickelodeon, and I think that's why she boycotted the Kids' Choice Awards in 2014. She claims she was put in an uncomfortable, compromising, unfair situation and had to look out for herself. At this time, she actually unfollowed Ariana Grande on all social media because Ariana Grande went when Jeanette was boycotting the event. So I guess that's shady, I don't know. It seems like Ariana Grande kind of likes Dan Schneider, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Jeanette Mccurdy has been doing several interviews, and she actually did one last week where she shared a ton of information about her past and her struggles with her ED. She has suffered with eating problems because she was pretty much forced into having this disorder. Her mother struggled with it, and being a child star, she needed to look young and skinny and thin, and that was part of the role. So she opens up about these struggles, and this is part of the toxic environment that Dan put her in. I don't think that Jeanette can talk about her experiences. I mean, there's even a video on her channel where someone wrote, "I know you most likely can't even speak about this, but please talk about the TV industry and children. You know what I mean. Love you from a Cancer." And she hearted this comment, meaning she saw it and gave it a like. So Jeanette wants to talk about it, I think, but I don't think she can because there are NDAs and so many legal fights out there. But in this podcast she filmed last week, December 16th, 2020, she met with Kayla Peterson, who is the daughter of a famous psychologist named Jordan Peterson. And she spoke with Kayla about several different things, and I'm going to watch a snippet of that interview with you guys to share with you what Jeanette had to say. Okay, so this clip starts off with Kayla asking Jeanette, was there anything good about being a child star? And here's what she had to say.
Was there anything good? Like, I want to get into the bad parts about being in the public eye when you're little, because it can destroy people. Like you see it from the sidelines. So what were the good parts?
Oh my gosh, her hesitation. She was like, actually, are there?
Long pause, a moment of silence. The good parts were, yeah, I mean, I think it did teach me a good work ethic. I think, I don't have to be asked twice to do anything. I think I'm really self-motivated and driven. And then I made some good friends. I made some really good friends. And also, you know what, I think there's more. I think it's like what I'm doing now, writing and directing is adjacent, and I don't know what I would have done otherwise. So who's to say, but I do think that it's helpful to have, I already kind of have a somewhat of a running start on this career, because I know the industry kind of works somewhat like this, although it's very different as an actor, because as an actor, everybody kind of babies you and treats you like, oh, they can't know anything because they're sensitive.
If you guys don't know about what Jeanette has been up to currently, like she said, she has been writing and directing, and you can actually go to her website to see what projects she has been working on, but I want to highlight this little section where she wrote, "I started out as a child actor, and while that experience certainly lent some psychological trauma, parentheses, sound guys can be especially creepy, in parentheses, I knew that early on I loved the on-set environment." So even in her professional bio on her website, she is referring to some of the creeps that she had to work with as a child star. Okay, let's continue.
And like nobody tells you anything. So it's sort of like it's definitely a more narrow point of view, I think, to be an actor in the entertainment industry, but it's also adjacent. I think it was helpful in terms of like switching to the career that I wanted to switch to. Yeah, so that's fair. Yeah. But what about the bad parts? That sounds easier. It certainly is. Bad parts. I mean, there's a lot of abuse that happens. I work with an incredibly emotionally abusive producer.
Dan Schneider, let's back it up one more time.
That sounds easier. It certainly is. Bad parts. I mean, there's a lot of abuse that happens. I work with an incredibly emotionally abusive producer. Even talking about it now, my face gets hot thinking of it, just because. He'd say things like, you would work at Yogurtland if you didn't work for me. And he would just scream. How old were you? I was, when I started the show, I was 13. Does Yogurtland even hire people when they're 13? Is that even a reasonable thing to say? The real questions. Thank you. Exactly. It's like, he was like a comically, like the bad teacher or whatever you would expect in like an over the top, broad family comedy. That's what he seemed like, very villainous and almost like mustache twirly in his kind of personality. So there's just like, there's abuse, which is a very on the nose bad. And then there's also, I think it leads to a sense of entitlement, where it's like, if you have so much at a young age, you think that that's reality. Like my reality when I was 13 was that everybody cared what I had to say. My reality when I was 13 was that like people were interested in me just because I was on TV, not because I had interesting things to say, not because I was saying anything of merit or value. And I think it leads. I just want to say, listening to Jeanette, she sounds very smart and very self-aware. And when I hear that she says that Dan Schneider was terrible as a producer and like triggers her, I believe that. Or for me, I should say, it definitely led to this idea of like, well, things will just keep working out. It's like you don't have to try as hard and formulate your own opinions and your own point of view as much, because you just think, well, if I post this picture and it gets 500,000 likes, I must be great. It's like, let's tone it down. You're not that great, sweetheart. Let's get some picture. Humble queen. I mean, that's gotta be difficult to understand if you have a whole bunch of people watching you or recognizing you. I mean, when you went out on the street, you got approached, right? I mean, it got to a level that was so intense. It would just, I mean, there's paparazzi and like clusters of people anywhere that's like a public, you know, restaurant, like can't eat without people constantly there. It for me, it was really frustrating. I think
it must have been really terrible because if you think back to this time back in like 2007, that's when Britney Spears was experiencing the terrible paparazzi. So Jeanette was probably getting a little piece of that as well.
I think for some people, they can kind of, I don't think anybody's made for fame. Like, I don't think that there's anybody who's made to thrive in it, but I think there are some people that are more able to tolerate it and are just like better equipped with their emotional and mental tools to handle it. And I don't think I was, and it just made me feel like I was going to explode all the time. I was so anxious.
Yeah, well, having an anxiety disorder and then being approached all the time and being recognized everywhere sounds anxiety provoking.
Right. Not a recipe for success.
No, and I know that, you know, I remember, I think it was Eminem. He came out with something and he got really angry at being approached in a restaurant or something. And me as a kid, it was just like, well, like that's kind of what you get for being in the pub. Like, I think there's a level of, I don't want to say like resentment or anger for people looking in, but they're kind of like, well, you're a celebrity. Like,
I resented fame. I really did, because it was like people were coming at me constantly for a thing that I was ashamed to be a part of. You know, I was on a show that I thought was trash. Like I just thought, this is so shady. This is so bad. I don't want to go to this overlit kids show set and like scream my lines and just like, whoa, Carly! Like everything just felt just so ridiculous. So for me, it was like when people were constantly approaching me, it just felt like, God, about this dumb piece of trash that I don't even like. Why is this big thing? Like it just felt so.
Wow.
I mean, I know that's super. I think it's a super unlikable thing to say, but it really is my experience.
No, it's just kind of sad, right? I think I kind of get where you're coming from too, because for an actor too, you're portraying people who you aren't. So then you might be approached, I don't know, but you might be approached on the street from someone who treats you like the character you're portraying, or somebody like Dad wouldn't exactly have that happen.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, people would come up to me. I played like kind of a punky teen on TV. A girl would have been a juvie. And at the time I was like 14, but seemed more like a 7-year-old emotionally. Like I was very emotionally underdeveloped. So people were coming up to me being like, hey, Sam, like, and I'm going, hi, like just nervous. And they're like, oh, you're not cool. Never mind.
Aw, man. That's sad.
Oh.
So I haven't had very much success. I've had a lot of success, like writing down things that I can't get out of my head and just getting them out on paper. So I did a ton of journaling and writing. And that was very therapeutic for like traumatic experiences.
Your therapy experiences sound awful and hilarious.
They're so good when they're written down. Like I'm writing a book, and they're very good for the book, but for real life, they were not ideal.
Right. Such is life. I feel like anything that's not like a fun life experience, it's like, well, I better write a book, because otherwise it was just life. No.
Oh.
Yeah, it's less.
Make a profit off of it. I don't know.
It's less fun that way. If I ever have something terrible happen, I'm like, oh, it's going to make a good chapter though.
Exactly.
So bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree that I think writing helps tremendously. I think that's maybe even more so than DBT. I would say like journaling, you know, again, your dad's self-authoring suite, but like just any form of writing in a really complete way. I was going to say word vomity way, but considering my past, maybe not the best.
So she's going to talk a little bit about her ED here. So trigger warning right now. This is actually something that she is very open about on her TikTok account as well. So you can go watch TikToks about her recovery, which I think is great that she is bringing awareness to this. We need people to fight and to represent EDs and to show us that recovery is possible.
Not the best.
It's a nice way to describe it.
Kind of though. A little.
Yeah, that's kind of accurate.
If I know it, I might as well work on it.
Oh my God. Wow. Well, good for you for like getting all that under control. I'm sure being under extreme stress as a kid, like, is just going to breed that kind of behavior, right?
Yeah, you know, actually, saying it now, I also think that quitting acting was hugely instrumental. Like, I needed that for my mental health, and I needed that for my own self-growth and my own relationship with myself. I couldn't keep, you know, literally being people that other people write, and, you know, trying to just the amount of rejection that comes with acting, the amount of like wedging yourself into these roles that are other people. It's like, no, I deserve to be myself, man. Like, it's been enough of being other people, enough of spending my life trying to be who my mom wants me to be in producers and record labels. And
that's really tough for child stars. And I hope family channels can even learn from some child stars, because even though family channels are different than TV shows, they really aren't in some of the impacts that they have. So yeah, that's
done.
Child stardom.
Walking away from that, well, I mean, it was certainly the hardest thing, or one of the hardest things I've ever done. The kicking the eating disorder was harder, but But walking away from a career that everybody's telling everybody in my family's going, don't walk away from this. You'd be insane to walk away from this. You can't. Why would you do that? Do you know how hard it is to be successful at acting? What are you thinking? And I was like, I don't know. I feel like I have to do it. And it was really hard, but it was me kind of taking a stand for myself. And I'm really glad that I did it.
Yeah, that is hard because it's like, there's so much opportunity there. Like, how can you say it? And especially,
it's really hard too, because at this time, while she was filming these shows, her mom was sick with cancer. Her mom passed in 2013, but she was sick with cancer. So I'm sure she was pressured by her family to continue to work and bring in that income because her mom is sick. I'm not too sure what her dad was doing at the time, but it's sad.
if you're a driven person, I mean, how do you say no to that? That's hard.
Yeah, and also because of the influence of everybody around. I mean, nobody was like backing up my decision to walk away. Nobody was saying like, cool, doing a thing for yourself, good on you. Everybody was like, keep acting, be a star. They all sound like agents for some reason.
They were all my agents. Yeah.
So obviously that was really strong of Jeanette to go on there and open up. And she's actually opened up on another podcast as well. She went on a podcast called The Minimalist in January 2020. And in this podcast, she opened up about a lot of different topics like her eating disorder and being a child star. So let's go ahead and watch a little snippet of this interview as well. And then we'll talk a little bit more about iCarly and then move on to Alexa Nicholas.
How did you deal with that early on?
It was not easy. I think some people are naturally just kind of good at fame, like maybe their personality type or...
Oh my gosh, watch her say the same thing we just listened to. That kind of sounds like what she started off with.
History. I'm not sure what makes a person good at fame, but I felt incredibly anxious. Like there was a time, now it's completely manageable. It's not difficult at all. It doesn't feel like a hindrance on my life, but there is a time from probably 14 years old to 22 where I couldn't leave the house without paparazzi, without just hordes of people anywhere I went, any grocery store or, wherever. And I think it made life so difficult. I don't think young people should be allowed to be famous. Like, there's somebody who could come in and say, no, they can't, they're not mentally capable of handling this. I think that should happen.
Yeah.
Because the thing with former child stars having breakdowns makes so much sense to me, because I think the world that you're thrust into kind of, like, puts you right in line.
Especially when you're in Dan Schneider's world. Like, that's a whole nother world, especially for these children to be working in. Like, I think there are some child stars who have definitely had a way better and normal environment compared to what Jeanette and Amanda Bynes and so many others have gone through. So even though I think child stars are wrong, like, what she went through is uncomparable, and I wish that they could share it, but they have been clear with the fact that they can't, because there's some type of legal something that is blocking them from doing so.
To have a breakdown.
How old were you when the disordered eating started?
I was 11.
Yeah.
My mom actually had a history with eating. She had been hospitalized for anorexia a few times, and she had introduced me to anorexia because she thought it would help me play younger roles for acting.
Oh, right.
She thought if I stayed smaller, it would be effective.
Wow.
But this was also modeled for you by your mom, the anorexia part. You talked about how basically for dinner, all you ever saw her eat was broccoli and cauliflower with a little bit of like garlic salt on it.
Yeah, it was just steamed vegetables. She wouldn't eat anything else for dinner. So yeah, I learned that's normal. That's what I saw as normal.
Yeah, and so it eventually manifested into, but then that morphed into feeling like you weren't a good enough.
Yeah, well, because in like eating disorder, and you're never.
Again, I am sorry if you're joining this late or whatever, but trigger warning, because this is very triggering just to me alone.
You're never aiming for like the ideal. There's definitely a hierarchy to eating. And you're like, you want to have, if you haven't eaten, if you have basically failed, like that's just what, you tried to eat.
You're an amateur.
Yes, you tried to not eat, you couldn't not eat, so then you ate and then you throw up what you ate.
Wow.
You failed it, you landed up is kind of how it goes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, well, it's this very kind of unspoken rule, I feel like, in young Hollywood of, you know, if you're at a Teen Vogue party and they're passing around hors d'oeuvres and you're in the middle of a conversation and you go to grab an hors d'oeuvre, it's like you'll get the side eye from another person, like, oh my, you're taking a crostini, like.
And that's part of the whole toxic environment in Hollywood that I want to focus on in upcoming videos, because there's something really wrong here, and I'm glad the world is starting to wake up and to shift with the Me Too movement and things like that, but we need it to move a little quicker.
This is insane.
Oh, wow.
So then it's like, oh God, okay, I gotta set that down. Like, it's just this you can just feel the pressure of it. You can feel everybody kind of body monitoring, food monitoring everybody else in the room. It's just such a part of the business, I think.
Wow. Let's talk a bit about the recovery process, because it was not an overnight recovery.
No, I thought it was. I was, once I made the decision to recover, I was like, this is gonna be great. I'm just gonna like finger paint.
It's fine.
What I realized during recovery was that my eating disorder and my addiction to it had really been covering up all of the uncomfortable feelings underneath it. So then once I was pushing.
That's the thing. People are going to say this whole part is not related to Dan Schneider at all. And maybe part of this is due to her mom, because her mom also suffered and passed that on to her. But like, Dan hosted such a toxic environment, and there are so many things I'm sure that she has gone through that she can't even talk about because of
recovery,
the protections he has.
I was just confronted with all those feelings that I'd been bottling up and suppressing and shoving down for so long, and that was so difficult. You know, I'd been burying them for 13 years, and I never imagined that not throwing up.
Literally 13 years. That would be 2007 when she's working with him.
How it relieved my anxiety so much that not throwing up would leave me in a fetal position on the floor sobbing. Like, it was that emotional to me, where it was like, oh, this was just covering up all this. And yeah, it was difficult. It was that level of emotional intensity, you know, the fetal position sobbing for at least a year.
Jeanette is so strong for opening up about her ED and sharing her experiences as a child star. But you guys may ask, well, what about Miranda Cosgrove? Because they did iCarly together. That was iconic. They had 5 seasons. So what is going on there? And honestly, there's not too much to say when it comes to Miranda Cosgrove. She hasn't like spoken out against Dan. But Dan has made one creepy comment about her in the past, with a foot on her head. You can see there's a picture of her with a little foot like stuck onto her head, and he literally wrote, OMG, Miranda Cosgrove, I thought I loved the bow, but I like your foot choice even better. Ew, like, oh, he thought it was a bow, but he likes the foot even more. Like, please, dude, can he get any creepier? But I have a feeling that Miranda Cosgrove, I'm not too sure if she has gone through anything with Dan. I mean, there are so many creepy clips from iCarly involving feet.
In, out, the, in, out, in, out.
After this, we massage my feet.
No, gross.
But other than that, she hasn't really spoken out against Dan specifically, and I feel like maybe she's on the Nickelodeon side of things. You guys may know that iCarly is actually being revived. It's something that is being talked about. This article was posted December 9th, 2020. So the show is coming back, and I have a feeling that Miranda wants to stay on Nickelodeon's good side. Another actor, Noah Monk, from the iCarly show, also spoke out against Dan, but he said that he never really saw anything go down.
I was sort of, I mean, if that went on, that's devastating to me, because I don't see him in that light, you know? So watching clips on YouTube is like crazy, but I mean, the foot shit is like, okay, bro, come on. Like, I never really noticed that when I was 15 on the show, but of course, looking in retrospect, it's like, oh, okay. No, I don't know. No, and I never observed, like, saw anything like that or got hints of that. So it might be baseless rumor, but I don't want to speak. Like, what if some out? I don't want to be like on record being like, no, you know. So I have no clue.
Even though Noah claims he didn't see anything, he acknowledges the fact that Dan definitely has something creepy with feet. But I want to go back to that channel, Revenge of the Sis, because they did an interview with Angelique Bates, who is a former star from the show All That, which is a show that Dan Schneider was a huge part of. During this interview, she shared a little bit about the toxic environment on set and what was going on at Nickelodeon, because I feel like Nickelodeon definitely puts their male stars and the men above the women. Like, when it comes to stars going through certain things in Hollywood, I think the women at Nickelodeon, the child stars, the little girls, went through a lot more than the little boys because of the environment that was at Nickelodeon. It was all about the men, and the women who worked there were pushed to the side. But let's go ahead and react to a snippet from that interview where you can hear about Angelique's experience working there.
I'm sure because after was hard.
No, you're right, because they still do stuff with Shia LaBeouf, and that guy's a mess. He's a complete mess.
I had a character.
That's true. Honestly, if you think about all of the people that Nickelodeon still works with, like, they worked with some really creepy guys in the past. I'm sure you guys have heard about the different producers and staff, so we can talk about that one day. But yeah, like Shia LaBeouf, he has major problems, and of course Nickelodeon is here for it.
Character voice I was doing, Hilton had everybody just laughing.
So in this little snippet, she is sharing that she had a character voice at some point that was really funny, everyone was laughing, and then Dan will pull her to the side and listen to what she has to say.
And actually, Dan took me to the side and was just like, yo, that was funny, blah, blah, blah. But kill that voice because you're taking away from such and such a thing. But it was all of our thing, you know? Right. And so when I got rid of the voice, everybody was like, "Why did you do that?" But I wasn't about to be like, "Well, there's only, you know, like I just like, oh, I don't want to do the character no more." But they were like, it was funny. But I was specifically told by him, "Don't do that voice anymore because you're taking the shine away, such and such."
Wow, so even then they had this weird little hierarchy, their cast system. Yeah.
There's definitely a hierarchy in, like, at Nickelodeon and in the studios and actually at each show, and I do feel like there are certain stars, like maybe even Miranda Cosgrove and iCarly, where she is untouchable because she's the #1 lead, and those other stars who are on the sidelines or not the main character, they are at risk of being, you know, I don't know, Dan doing something to them or some producer, because this whole environment is filled with creeps.
Well, first of all, they favor the males anyway, and at that network, they favor the males.
Which is another reason, and Mike pointed this out, when Dan Schneider did go to receive his Lifetime Achievement Award, it was only males that were up there with him except for one, because she was still doing the show. She was still under contract. And we always thought that's weird with how many women and girls he's worked with. It's a glaring
it's always been like that. I will say one thing I do remember was he had a female writer. She was old.
The woman that she is referring to is named Kayla Alpert, and she was a former writer from Nickelodeon. It's unclear whether she was fired or she left, but there are some major problems that went down.
Because she was for the females. As a matter of fact, she wrote so many dope characters for me, and they didn't like that. They didn't like that. She had wrote some dope characters for me. She had wrote some for the other girls, and they were like, it's not about them. It's about Whoop Wop and da-da-da-da. Right. And they ended up, I remember that. She was dope. I can't even remember her name, but I remember she was the only female writer we had at that time, and they ended up fixing her because she was dealing with too much. I can't remember if she quit or if they fired her. But it was a problem. It was a problem because she couldn't write what they wanted her to write.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we're seeing too. Is they kind of like they make their own, in lack of a better word, they make their own environment where they could control the narrative, control what happens. Yeah.
That's exactly what is going on. There's this environment that is controlled by Dan Schneider that is extremely toxic. And that's why so many stars have gone through terrible things, and we really have to pick and find evidence to explain this story, because everything is so controlled and hidden and masked and NDAs, and I'm not even sure what's going on, especially when this video, along with several other videos, have been unlisted by this guy, by this podcast, and I really do feel like they're trying to hide information from going out there. So we don't know what's gonna happen with my videos one day, but I don't know. We need to get it all out there in one place so that people can understand that Dan Schneider is truly a monster. Now let's switch gears and talk about Alexa Nikolas. If you don't know who she is a former Nickelodeon star who played Nicole on Zoey 101 along with Jamie Lynn Spears. She's currently 28 years old along with Jeanette Mccurdy, they're both the same age, and she has also been vocal online about her experiences working at Nickelodeon and on set with Dan Schneider. In my last video, we talked about some of her comments from Instagram, like this one where someone said that they were surprised that Nickelodeon let her go, and she said that she actually quit because bad stuff happened on set. There are also comments like these where she is asking people not to watch Dan Schneider's shows because he is a bad person. She claims he's not a good guy in her opinion. And I believe there are great reasons why she dislikes Dan Schneider, and it makes sense to me because he did some disturbing things to children, especially her on set, and really messed with her mental health. And it seems like Alexa had an awakening one day because she posted on her story where she just did not understand how these shows could be filmed in such a disgusting way, referring to some of the gross clips like the ones involving Ariana Grande that are extremely inappropriate and that we talked about in my last video.
Have you ever said something, like a sentence, and thought to yourself, wow, like I bet nobody else on earth has ever said those exact words that I just said? That happens to me a lot. So now, just for fun, I'm gonna say 3 sentences that I bet not one person has ever said before in the history of mankind. Sentence number 1. Oh man, my uvula got stuck between that hamster's toes. See? That could never happen because your uvula is that swingy thing in the back of your throat right here. So there's no way you could get it stuck between a hamster's toes.
Clips like those are really haunting for Ariana Grande and just really inappropriate for any children, but of course that's what Dan Schneider was aiming for. Alexa even posted a picture of Ariana Grande with her toe in her mouth and wrote that she could not believe that this has happened. She cried watching this. It feels really weird. She's just a person with a heart and she feels like this is inappropriate. She loves Ariana, and I feel like Ariana did a lot of disgusting things for Dan. Obviously, it's not her fault, but I wonder what she truly thinks about him nowadays. Ariana has tweeted out a ton about Dan, and most of them are really supportive. Her thanking him, her tweeting out about him, her tweeting out to his wife, which if you guys want a video about his wife, let me know. So Ariana is definitely a Dan fan, and I feel like she, along with Miranda Cosgrove and some other people like Jamie Lynn, don't really care what Dan did because they got the better end of the stick. And like Jeanette Mccurdy, Alexa Nikolas was fed up, and she actually did her own Instagram live interview where she talked about her experiences being bullied on set and with Dan Schneider. So let's react to it. Just so you guys know, the quality isn't great in this video, and I did cut it up a bunch to include the most important parts, but it is a lot, and I'm just going to go through it and listen to her story because I believe it's important to understand how the bullying was extremely bad, and it led up to her having a lot of problems. Dan did nothing about it, and Britney Spears confronted her. So much went down.
Okay, so we're talking about Zoey 101.
Are we getting hearts about Zoey 101 right now? Okay. Where are the hearts? I want to hear
some parts of this is kind of cringe, to be honest.
Okay, so you left Zoey 101. We'll talk about why, but first, what was it like transitioning from that into your own personal work?
Okay. So, wait, what are we going to first? How I left?
Sure.
We should start from there.
Sure. Why did you leave Zoey 101?
It was awful. The experience on set ended up being drastically different than how I felt. I got the show and was super excited. I was more excited to meet people my age because I was homeschooled a lot of my life, and I wasn't around a lot of people my age. I kind of grew up more around adults, and so I never really had the opportunity to know about people that were like my age. And so getting into that experience with Zoey 101, I was super excited. Like, oh cool, I'm going to be surrounded by finally people my age. I'm really excited about that experience to get to have friends for the first time. So I was really isolated.
They're popping bottles over there.
And so going into that, I was very excited.
And then reality kicked in, and I discovered that the lead character on the show, who's be my best friend on screen, didn't really want to be my best friend in real life.
Jamie Lynn. So Jamie Lynn was not trying to be friends with Alexa Nicholas, and that was very clear to her from the start.
She was a little bit just distant from me, and I wasn't expecting that, and it kind of made me feel certain ways, but I kept trying to reach out to her and like ask her to go like sleepovers with me or to go to the movies, and she didn't really want that, and it was kind of a bummer because then when we were filming we had to act as though we were best friends, and that was fine. Like I was used to acting my whole life, so it wasn't like I couldn't pretend that was the case, but it surely wasn't, and I was really left out. So I would spend most of my days like in my trailer with my mom, eating lunch and everything because no one was there. Which was a horrible experience in general. It was like awful. But it started to escalate. And all of a sudden, every day I was on set, they would kind of team up together and tell me that I was like an alien, that was so nice, and they made fun of me for smiling too much, and just like a lot of days kind of on a regular basis. And they were starting to beat up my self-esteem. So the last episode of the first season,
you guys will notice they will move locations like 5 times in this video, but it's fine, it's cool. But the toxic environment that she is describing here is obviously really bad for a young girl who is working at such a young age, and she's trying to make friends there. No one wants to be friends with her. She doesn't have a supportive like leadership panel or whatever, producer, director, etc. So there are a lot of problems in this story already.
There was an episode where we had to pin Dana. Had to go behind a rock and like reverse from behind these like huge rocks to a beach. We had to like come around. And it was just me and her, and I was so nervous to be like alone with her. The cameraman and everybody else was.
Dana was a fellow character on Zoe 101, and this story is actually so crazy to me, so listen closely.
Very, very, very far away. And it's like one, stuff. How we were doing. But anyways, we go behind a rock, there's nobody there, and she pushes me into the rocks. And, she started telling me some, like, not so nice things. And I heard action. And then we had to, like, run and pretend we were, like, friends all of a sudden, which was a trip. And we did the scenes, and then afterwards, like, ran to my mom, and I told her. And then, obviously she went to the adults of the show and told them that this is what happened. And I was like,
obviously the adults don't really care, but who is this Dana girl to go and push someone on a rock? Like, I just don't relate to anyone on that level. Like, who could physically just go and like, I'm just not that aggressive, I guess, or like confrontational, especially not physically. Like, why would she do that to her? Obviously that's something that's going to be with her for the rest of her life. And when her mom throughout these stories goes to the producers with these problems, nothing's really solved. But Dana was in Zoe 101 for only 1 season, so I think she was hard to work with for a lot of people, and that's why they kicked her out.
My daughter's safe anymore because now everyone's kind of not being so kind to her. And what is this about? So we need to have a mediator. Like, somebody has to sit down with them and have them talk to each other and just settle it. Like, there's no, Alexa doesn't not like anybody. Like, it seems like everyone's just not liking her. And like, why don't we just have a conversation about this? No one kept begging for a conversation, but nobody wants to have a conversation. So,
see, no one wanted to take that leadership role and bring together the team because they don't care. Because people like Dan, who control environments like this, they want it to be disrupted. They want people not to be friends so that when he does things to certain people, they're not going to go run to their best friend and tell, their family unit on set. It's a form of manipulation, and you need to think deeper when you think about his power here.
That Dana was no longer on show. And I felt like kind of safe in that way. I was like, oh, maybe that dynamic between, Zoe and Dana, like Jamie and her, like, maybe if that's not there anymore, maybe we'll have some peace for season 2. Like, we can move forward and really get along, just like enjoy the process of working together. It was chill for the first few episodes, and there was still, I still do feel like I can talk to Jamie. Like, that was just not a reality whatsoever. Didn't want to. So that was fine, and I kind of just got used to it at that point. Like, I was with my mom, we talk, and I started talking to Sean Flynn, who was very nice to me at that time, and sometimes the boys were pretty chill, and it was okay. I found the rhythm of it, and I found where I felt safe. But then I became very close friends with Victoria Justice because
Victoria.
So as you guys know, Victoria Justice, she joined the whole cast, and this was really great for her career. And at this point, Alexa was like, great, a new face. I can become friends with her. We've had problems with other people in the past, but this is a fresh start.
And I've known each other for a long time because our parents knew each other. So we were really close. I was like, yeah, I finally have a friend on set. And like me and Victoria were like super close. Like every day, hanging out, we had sleepovers. I was like, yeah, we're finally going to movies, talking about boys. We're like doing all the things that I sounds so we're finally doing the things that like I wanted to be doing at that age, you know? And we got into like a weird dispute. I don't even know if he was talking to me. It's hilarious. And I wasn't even arguing with her. It was just like something weird happened one day.
So she doesn't open up about what happened with Victoria Justice. Maybe she's being honest here and she doesn't know. But I do want to keep in mind that this is a story from one side, because she talks about how everyone pretty much gangs up on her and dislikes her and bullies her. And I'm sure it happened, but I also don't know, like, did she do something? We really don't know, because I don't want to think that these people just randomly hated on her for no reason.
And all of a sudden it got set and it was bad. Like, she was whispering to everybody and just saying things about me and not being friends with me anymore. Like, oh, it's been worse than it was before. And I was so scared. But I was like, okay, whatever. Everyone should just be professional. That's what they tell kids, by the way. Like, be professional. What professional to a kid? I don't know. Yeah. What? Like, I don't even think I knew what that word was when they were telling me it's professional. You know, and then I'm just gonna smile then the whole time. I guess that's what it means. Like, just to not pretend that nothing bad is happening, or you're not like feeling a certain kind of way. And then that's the last episode, and I was in my trailer with my mom. And
honestly, these shows, if you're gonna have kids there and they have to, you know, get special schooling to do these type of shows and stuff, there should be a counselor there, someone independent that they can go and speak to when problems like this is going on. Especially if the producers aren't going to help.
Usually, when you're a minor on set, they have to bring you. They basically have to tell the guardian, which is your parent, exactly where they're taking you, and you can't take any detours because you're a minor. So, like, the first AD's job is to be like, okay, I'm taking her from this spot to make it in here.
Yes.
And so Ian was his name. Ian. He was like, came to the trailer, knocked as usual. I was like, hey, I'm going to take a lesson to make it in here. We're going to sit there. I was like, cool, Alexa can go. So I'm walking with Ian. Like, wait, I could tell like energetically there was something weird happening, but I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what it was. But I remember thinking, like, why is he nervous? And we were walking, and he goes, wait, and like he kind of like went like this to me. Like, Jamie wants to talk to you in her trailer. And I remember looking at him going, when the hell, like, I wasn't getting held in, but like, when would Jamie like ever talk to me, you know? It seemed strange. I was like, okay, maybe she's finally down for the conversation though. And maybe she's inviting me in and we're gonna settle. Like, whatever, however she feels, she'll say however she feels and how I feel, whatever. And he's like, so go. And I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, Jamie's in there, she's ready to talk to you. And I was like, maybe my mom should have known. Like, why didn't he say to my mom that if he knew that the whole time that Jamie wanted to talk to me, like, why didn't he tell my mom? And so I went upstairs, and I remember opening the door, and I saw someone that was like Amy run to the back of the trailer. She was one of the biggest trailers, all the she had all those big ones. They like the small ones, she had the big ones. So she like ran to the back, and like, that's weird. Why is Jamie running? And I walked in, and then I like walk in, and I think like, oh, maybe I'm supposed to like sit on the couch and like wait for her. It's like she ran to that.
This is a completely empty, large trailer with the first AD by your side.
No, the first AD left me.
You just open the door.
You go in there.
Just go in there
with no guardian.
Okay.
That's what's. And that's you can't do that.
So there was no one. You walked in, no one's in there.
No one's in there. Well, no, Jamie ran across.
Right. You saw someone.
I saw Jamie.
You saw her.
I thought like it was Jamie. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I like sat down.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, maybe she asked for Jamie to like be our house for one set. So like I was just like, okay, maybe that's just the case. And she like ran to the back, and I sat down and just like waiting, for her to come out. And it's like Jamie, and then all of a sudden, I'll never forget the image.
This part is crazy, but just so you guys know, we're going to get to the Dan Schneider part of this. But just to give you guys some backstory, pretty much Britney Spears is about to confront her.
And just because like Britney just like came out, and she was like kind of in just like a raw, wet kind of like thing. And you can sit down there if you want. Just like zoom into us. I don't have to stand for that. She like just ran at me and yeah, like this close, and started like berating me and telling me that she was gonna make sure that nothing came of my career, and that
She was going to make sure of it, and then nobody messes with her sister. And the whole time I'm just thinking Victoria in my head, because I'm like, how does she think I've never wanted to mess with her sister?
So in her head, she's like, I've never done anything to Jamie Lynn. Maybe it must be Victoria Justice. Like, she must have been the one to say something to Jamie Lynn to cause this. And I can't believe that Britney Spears would go up and just do this to her. Maybe I'm just thinking Britney Spears is trying to be that protective sister, and they told her that, you know, this chick is doing a bunch of stuff, so go confront her. But also, this seems very out of character for Miss Britney.
You know, like, there's no messing with your sister. Like, there's never been a conflict. She's like, I've been trying to be friends with her, and I've gotten no results from it, you know? And she's like, nobody messes with my sister, and she's screaming at me, and then I start, like, getting sick to my stomach, and I started to puke a little bit. And I tried to, like, run to the door, and, like, she's blocking, and she's still yelling at me, and I, like, freeze up, and I'm just, like, horrified by the whole experience. I don't know what to do. And at the same time, I'm thinking, like, oh, I loved Britney Spears when I was younger, and, like, she was something I looked up to at that time, so, like, to have her not like me felt awful. Like, I also was like, maybe I'm not somebody that should be liked, because it's, like,
at that point, Britney Spears is telling you that she hates you. I would feel the same way, too. I'm like, at this point, I just give up. Like, Godney is telling me I'm worthless, but obviously this is just part of Jamie Lynn's manipulation and Dan Schneider's lack of effort to fix any of the problems.
So from when I was younger, I'm like, that sucks. Like, what a horrible feeling. So, like, all these things are going through my head. Like, what did I do wrong? Like, trying to figure it out. And then she was kind of grossed out by, like, me being sick. And, like, I was begging her to, like, get out of there. And she, like, finally, like, unlocked and she's like, go. And I, like, ran to my trailer. Like, I remember not being able to, like, see anything. It was just, like, everything was, like, super blurry. I was, like, walking, like, running to the trailer. And I ran in and I went right to the toilet and I started puking. And my mom's like, what the hell is going on? She, like, comes behind me and she's like, Alexa, tell me what's going on. And I was, like, trying to find the words, but I couldn't find any. Surprisingly enough, it was our last day.
It was your last day of shooting.
Which is basically what Britney Spears was, like, telling me. It's like, after this, you're done.
Right.
Like, I want to make sure that nothing happens.
And then tell me about the experience when you were taken into the boardroom at Nickelodeon.
So, well, let me rewind a little bit because I want to get to Dan.
Yeah.
Okay.
My poor mom, like, I hope there's, like, some mom out there, like, understands, like, if your daughter comes in and she's, like, throwing up and, like, you have no idea where she just was, and, like, my mom was so scared for me. It was so, I don't never forget my mom's face, because she just didn't know what happened to me, you know? And so I remember her, like, opening, like, the trailer, and she's, like, screaming, like, Ian, and, like, screaming Dan, and just, like, screaming, like, what happened to my daughter, you know? And she can't talk, and so then Ian's nowhere to be seen. Ian flees. Ian just dipped out. Ian, like, knew what he just did, and he was like, listen, I'm out of here. Like, you know, and he was really close friends with the Spears. Like, he was very close with them. I'm pretty sure, like, they even hired. Like, he was very close. And so he just dipped. He was gone. My mom's like, anybody? So then there was, like, another, like, PA or somebody that was like, what's going on? Like, I have no idea what's going on. And my mom's like, can you please get Dan? Get Dan here immediately, get the producers here immediately. Someone needs to figure out what's happened to my daughter.
There's a reason why she calls for Dan several times, because Dan is responsible.
So the PA is like, sure, okay, and they're on their walkie-talkies, and like, you can just hear the chaos through the walkies. It's just like, find Dan, find this person. And we waited for a while, and the whole time I was like, what happened? I couldn't really tell her what happened. And I was like, I kind of almost want to wait, because I remember hearing it in my mind, like, I finally want the adults on the show to, like, understand what I'm going through. Like, now this is escalating too far for me. Like, I'm hoping somebody's going to come back and be like, let's solve this problem. It's falling too far. Someone's being bullied on a regular basis. They've come out to, like, you know, they've reached for help multiple times, and, like, now it's gone too far. So one of the executives comes in, and they're just, like, so calm. Like, they come in, like, they're, like, Ray-Bans, and there's, like, what's happening? They're going, like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like, I don't see a side on my area. Like, we, like, just down, like, the sunglasses. Like, comes through, and he's like, what's going on? He doesn't really care. You know, he's just, like, getting paid. He just wants to be in and out. Like, let's get to set. It's kind of his, like, I understand that's how they're trained. Like, let's just get this moving. And I'm, like, sick, and my mom's telling him the scenario, saying she won't say what's happening. So finally Dan walks in. And Dan has not helped the entire time. And I don't feel comfortable going into details about what I've seen with Dan or, like, what Dan is. But
I don't think she feels comfortable because of what she's seen and what Dan is, because she cannot speak on it. Also, she's going to refer to a documentary later on in the video. So I believe they're doing a documentary about Dan Schneider, and that's something she's speaking on. But she's very vague when it comes to some of the specifics involving Dan.
Like, he comes through and with a smirk on his face. And because he's known the entire time that was leading to this, he could have prevented this. Like, he could have stepped in and been like, let's be friends here, on a kid's show. Like, let's be, like, even though we're kids, like, an adult should step in and be like, let's be friends. Like, how can we settle this? But no, that never happened. And so Dan comes in with, like, a smirk on his face,
which he always had with me, not a nice guy. Comes in, he's like, what's going on? What happened, Alexa? Oh, no, sorry. He goes, what happened now with you, Alexa? As if it's my fault, like immediately. And I finally started to blurt out, like, what happened? And what happened when I went to the trailer, and what happened. And he was like, you have to go on set. You have to film this last scene. And, like, had no care. He's like, but I have something for you that would probably make you feel better. I remember being like, that's his response. Like, I'm throwing up here. I'm sick to my stomach. It's awful. And his response that I need to get to set and that, you know, he has something for me that's cool. And he just pulls out, you know, those like portable DVD players that you could like put a DVD in and watch?
Yes.
He like pulled, like his assistant and passes me this DVD thing. I was like,
wait, hold up. So one, the manipulation is crazy because he's like, no, don't worry, Alexa. Like, and here's a gift. Like, trying to solve a problem that he's not even acknowledging the problem is there. And then he's giving her like one of those crappy DVD things. Like, oh no, that is tragic.
Sitting on the floor, like, I'm in the closet area actually. So I was like so scared I was in the closet area. And like looking at this DVD player, going, this fucking TV happened to me. It's so strange. He's like, okay, so now go on set. Let's finish the scene. We'll talk about this later. And so yet again, as a kid, I have to like be professional, even though I'm distraught and horrified, and literally want to never see the face. Like I don't want to see the day ever again. Go on set. Everyone's being horrible to me. They started like shooting these water guns at me because like all the cast members had like water guns, and before we even started filming, they're like shooting water guns at me and laughing at me. And like after they knew, because Jamie definitely knew what was going on. It's just horrible. And I'm like humiliated, just sitting there like have to pretend like I'm Nicole. Just like smiling and bubbly, and like, what was everybody doing that? It's like a long-winded thing, sorry. But so then afterwards, the execs called my mom and they're like, let's sit down with Alexa and, you know, hear her side of the story and like what happened and blah, blah, blah. And so my mom called my lawyer, which I find out later was in cahoots with Nickelodeon, so she didn't have my best interest in mind.
Oh.
And they're like, yeah, just go meet up with the exec.
That's the thing. Once you get involved, like with these execs and this company, like you're gonna have people who are so manipulative. Like every single side, your lawyer who you think is on your side is actually working for the production company. Like it's very messy, and you can get really lost in this, and your children can be taken advantage of without even the parents realizing it, or the parents even caring. Because when you make $130,000 per episode off of your child, obviously they're going to be motivated to continue working them.
That's going to be totally fine. We get to Nickelodeon on Sunset, and there's all the execs there, including Dan, and they asked my mom if I can go in there alone. My mom goes, no, absolutely not. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm not going to like leave my side. I'm not afraid to be around any more adult. I don't know, I'm afraid. And I have to call her lawyer first. So we call my lawyer, and she ends up telling us that it's okay for me to go in there alone. Like, oh, it's fine. What's going to happen to Alexa? Like, the adults are going to handle this professionally. Like, I kept hearing that word, professional. Everyone's going to handle it professionally. Everyone's going to handle things professionally. None of that was ever happening. And so she's like, don't worry. Like, Dan's in there, the execs, etc. Like, you're going to be okay. And she's like, I promise these are adults now. You're not dealing with Jamie. You're not dealing with Dan. Sometimes mean, but like, these other people that come to necessarily will be keeping a watch on this situation, this dialogue. And I go in there and they literally sit me purposely. There's a huge table. They could see, like, Jesus.
There's a major problem here because it's not just Dan. There are so many other people. And if you guys want me to do a deeper dive and do some of these other employees, or even Viacom, which is the company that, like, pays out a ton of these victims and survivors, I can do that. This is just the beginning of uncovering this mess of Dan Schneider, Nickelodeon, and the whole Hollywood industry.
Start and so she's like, don't worry, like Dan's in there, the execs, etc. Like, you're gonna be okay. And she's like, I promise these are adults now. You're not dealing with Jamie. You're not dealing with Dan. Sometimes mean, but like these other people that come to necessarily will be keeping a watch on this situation, this dialogue. And I go in there and they literally sit me purposely. There's a huge table. They could see like Jesus and his disciples. So it just like goes across, and then they have like one chair for me on the other side. And I'm like, go sit down, Alexa. And literally, she was too big for me. I felt so small. I had like 5 people in front of me that are all adults that are like Viacom and Nickelodeon, and Dan's right in the middle, so like directly across from me. Does not look happy. And basically, they just went on this whole thing that it's not Nicole 101, it's Zoe 101. If I wanted any show, I should have got one. I have to basically be nice to I have to like handle whatever the lead character.
What type of adults are speaking to a child in this manner.
Dealing with because I'm a side character and I don't matter when it comes to like in industry terms. I have to put on a good face, like I can't take bullying. Just like it went on and on and on. Like maybe there was some truth in what, like Dan was like, maybe there's some truth in what Brittany said. Like maybe you shouldn't be in this industry. Like maybe it's too much for you. Like you can't handle it. It's like like really, really. It was like for 20 minutes I'm crying there just listening to all these adults like tell me that I don't really matter, that I shouldn't have been in the industry to begin with, that I don't really have a voice, that everything that I felt is irrelevant, basically, and that I need to be professional and just suck it up. And that's it. And he was like, well, who knows what's going to happen to you? And then they started telling me, like, you know what happens to kid stars? Like, nothing ends up happening with that. Like, your only chance is, like, continuing the show for a while. If it's, like, after you're not on it, like, people fall off. And it was just, like, this brainwashing that just made me feel like completely nothing. It was, like, nothing, like, nothing. Anyways, I left.
Imagine that. Anytime you do anything that the execs do not like, they probably take the star and just tear them apart where they have no self-esteem or purpose but to provide for the industry and to continue working because that's what they're being told to do. It's such a toxic environment.
I never want to be around these people ever again. I felt absolutely horrible. I knew I was going to have like already been dead in some way or another. There was going to be years of therapy or something because that was just awful experience. But like nothing. I felt horrible. I felt love. Anyways.
And that was the departure off of
public. Not to read every question aloud.
Okay. So now it kind of switches and she's speaking to the camera some and it's going to be a little bit more choppy here because I'm just including parts where she's referring to Dan.
If I don't want to answer something like, also here, I need to be able to see. I don't like Dan personally.
So right there, she just said, "I don't like Dan personally."
So a
lot of people are asking.
There should be more in place to protect children. Absolutely, there's something that's coming out soon that I was a part of that you guys are going to see, and I go into way more detail about the situation, which is why I'm not going into detail about what actually I feel about certain people and like etc. Because there will be something that comes out where I do go into a little bit more detail. But I do think that kids need to be protected. I didn't feel protected at all being a kid star, and I completely agree that there has to be more protection. I don't know where that really starts, but it's very...
Did you exit the entertainment industry after this?
No, I worked a lot after that. I did mostly drama, more like television series, guest stars. I was on Mad Men. I had a reoccurring on Walking Dead. I was on Family Guy. I did a bunch of stuff after Zoe 101. It wasn't just like Zoe 101 and then nothing.
Here we go. Beautiful. What is coming out soon? A documentary? What exactly?
A documentary. Why did you say that?
I don't know if this documentary came out. I was looking around. If it's out, I missed it. But like, what is going on here? Can someone please let me know if you know anything else about this documentary?
I want to be a part of the reboot, especially if Dan was a part of it. I can't really say why I don't. I mean, obviously, I told a little bit of like why I don't agree with my personal experience with Dan Schneider and what I've seen, because this is all from my perspective. But I mean, in my opinion, if you watch any of those things, it's creepy. I don't support it. I'm not going to support it. I don't know when the doc is going to come out, to be honest. I'm not sure when it comes out, but it will be coming out soon. What's with the Dan and this foot fetish thing?
Oh my gosh.
You can answer that question.
It's a thing, obviously.
I think there's too much feet.
It's way too much.
There's way too many feet.
Ugh.
There's way too many kid feet. I don't like it. I don't like any kind of how do I put this?
Anything that's like insinuating child porn.
Oh my god, I'm not going to say that. That's Mika.
You have to block out a lot of this, but pretty much they don't like the idea that they are using children feet and like kind of getting off of the children feet because that should never be a child in that position.
No statement, not mine, but like it insinuates
the
of children. Yes, I think it's inappropriate 100%. In my opinion,
do you want to tell them about the wardrobe story?
No, that's in the doc. I don't want to mention things that are specific.
The wardrobe story. I'm like, there are so many things that people cannot talk about, and even in her documentary, I don't know. Is she protected by does she have an NDA that's holding her back? I have no idea.
For that. But what I do want to say is I've seen some like footage that is just like, no, absolutely not. Not okay. Not okay, not okay, not okay. I don't care which way you want to put it. I would be the person to say that that's not okay. It's not. And I know many people think it's not okay. It's just not okay. It's not okay.
go through these questions. Are you going to take any legal action against someone? Skip that question. It's too real. Does a documentary involve? Gonna skip that.
Is the Illuminati real?
Yes. The Illuminati. Who asked that? That's amazing. I love being real.
Okay. Were you invited to the? Were you?
No, but I've been waiting to like hear that question, like not from you, but like to hear it from the Illuminati. Like, is that ever gonna happen?
Someone who would be invited would say no, though.
That's so true. What if I am? Like, where I'm like at the like eyes wide shut party right now.
Like we're gonna hear live from the Illuminati.
Okay. The rest of the live stream was just pretty much goofy, and they were just joking. As far as the I have no idea about that. We can honestly talk about it in a video if you guys wanted, but I feel really icky just even, I don't know, thinking about all the things that she could have shared in that documentary, and I'm going to be waiting for it. I'm sure it hasn't dropped. If it has, then I don't know what's going on, but that has to be about Dan. There's no way. This man has done so many things to so many people, and when I was making this video, I was like, wait, how do I even like put this all together, because there is just so much. But before we close out, I want to share one last thing with you guys. So one of you guys actually reached out to me, and if you ever want to reach me, you can find me on Instagram at SL04N, or you can reach me at my email at sloanwellknown@gmail.com. But one of you guys actually sent me a TikTok that you made where you showed how at the end of Victorious, there would be a little like noise sample from the episode that was inappropriate, and they would put it during the little like animations for the organizations involved, like Sony and Nickelodeon. And I found that really odd, because why would they include like gross little lines in that part unless they were trying to like kind of flex it or to show someone that there's something inappropriate here or making an inappropriate joke. So I'm going to play that TikTok for you.
Is this gonna hurt? Probably.
You have that dream too?
Ooh, it's all tingly. Average.
Like as in his size?
Box has spoken.
What are you into?
Like what kind of things are they into? What's their like, you know?
How bad do you want this? Enjoy the bone. Can I hold it?
No, I don't want to see that thing again. Put it away.
It was only for one night. It didn't mean anything.
That one is literally so obvious.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Like literally that can be compared to Moan's, like obviously.
A wiener? You do it way more gentle than my mom does it.
Like what the hell?
Sometimes I do it to myself.
Literally. There it is.
Here comes that feeling. I heard you swallow.
That is so...
I honestly believe that Nickelodeon as a whole is really disgusting, and they have been trying to send messages through their TV shows to children for a long time so they can shape what we believe. And as I uncover more about Dan Schneider, I will be making videos because there's so much to talk about. His wife, there's more about the camps that I've got. There are people who have experienced interactions with him who have reached out to me that they want to share their story on my channel. So if you guys have anything you want to share or anything you want me to talk about next in the next video, comment below, because this guy is a creepazoid. And even though we've been talking about him for like a decade, this man needs to be held accountable. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Actually, I have a package. Okay, so you guys may know I have a P.O. box. And I actually save my P.O. box unboxings for when I'm on camera. So I'm just going to go ahead and unbox these two things while I'm here with you guys. So I have a P.O. box. If you guys ever want to send me anything, it is in my description below. It's the last thing, or should be around the last thing. But okay, I'm going to try to open this. So this is a package. Actually, I already know this is from Heather because it says it's from the from Scotland. And it went through customs. But I don't know how I'm going to get this thing open. I don't know how to get it open. Like, I'm looking for a tool or something I can use. Like, why can't I get it? Okay, we're gonna have to improvise here. We're gonna improvise. So, and we're lagging. A lot is going on. Okay, so improvising. Yes. If I was in the wild or lost, I literally just need my charger. Like, all I need is my water bottle and my charger and my phone, and I'm good to go. Okay. So these are some tea cakes, I believe. That's what it says on the customs label. Oh my gosh, I'm so hyped. She has sent me several items from Scotland. Oh, she sent a lot too. Oh my gosh. These tea cakes. Chocolate. Well, okay, let me try one. I definitely have to try one on camera for you guys. That's my dog just throwing her bone outside. There's so much chaos going on right now. So these are tea cakes from Scotland. And I guess, I hope it's not coffee because I'm allergic to coffee. But let's go ahead and try it. Okay. It's got some little white mark on it. I don't know if that's supposed to be there, but let's just go ahead and give her a go. Oh. It's good. No, it's good. Thank you, Heather. Oh my gosh. These are good. I've tried so much Scottish stuff since you have sent me things, and I need to go visit there because you guys actually have some really tasty treats. I also got a letter from the Schultz family. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. They actually have some really cool stamps, like, for their family. Like, this one says their name. So, let's go ahead and open this one. It looks like it's Christmas related, so I'm sorry I'm opening it after Christmas time. But you guys know the mail system is a little bit outdated nowadays. So, aw, she sent me a Christmas card with a little snowman on it. And she wrote a message. Merry Christmas and a very happy new year to you. I started watching your channel a few months back and I really enjoyed it. Thank you for putting yourself out there and being your truthful self. All the best to you in 2021, Melissa Schultz. And her Instagram is Honeybee Vampire. Thank you so much, Melissa. I really appreciate that. And if you guys ever want to send me anything, I am so thankful for anything you guys send me. And my P.O. box is listed below. But let me know what you guys want to hear in the next Dan Schneider video. This stuff is crazy. So comment below and I will see you guys in a new video soon. Bye, guys.